Paula. Welcome to my channel, Stitching in High Heels, my little corner of the internet where I talk about all of my crafty adventures. Generally speaking, it's primarily cross stitch, but I have begun doing a little bit of knitting, and I've got some other adventures planned in the not so distant future. So stick around if you'd like and see what I get up to. Today is Sunday, April 5th. Happy Easter to those who celebrate. And for everyone, I hope you're having a very pleasant weekend and able to get yourself regenerated and ready to start your week coming up. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here. For anyone who's new, welcome. I'm really glad you're here. I hope you find something that you like and that you'll come back, maybe that you'll subscribe and click, get myself back into things here, and that you will set up notifications so that you know when I post a new video. I've been trying really hard to do videos every other week. This last couple months have been pretty busy, and I've kind of fallen off that schedule, but I'm hoping to get back onto it. Pardon me, I've got a piece of hair in the corner of my eye. Okay, so what have I been up to? Well, the fact that I missed an episode in between has given me more time to work on things that I'm bringing to show you. So I have a bunch of fully finished objects, or FFOs. I have some finishes. I have some whips, or works in progress. Sorry, all my stuff is over here on the table. And I have a couple of new starts plus some plans. So it's a little bit later in the day. It's oh wow, it's almost 7 o'clock. I'm still not used to we've had daylight savings time, and it's staying light later, although it's cloudy out today. Still trying to get myself used to being light later. So it's almost 7 o'clock on Sunday evening, so let's get into this so I can get this recorded and edited and hopefully up tonight or tomorrow morning. So I'm going to start with my fully finished objects, which you haven't seen a lot of for me this year, but we'll jump right in. So the first one is a Mill Hill Buttons and Beads kit, and this is Aurora Borealis. And I feel like this is almost a cheat on the FFOing, because I did use just one of the Mill Hill pre-made frames. It's actually a dark navy blue. I'm not sure the light's really showing that all that well here, but that's what it is. And there it is, fully finished. So that was easy. I popped it in the frame, right? But I did have to put the glazer's points in the back to hold it in, because if you've used one of those frames, you know that it's not, the perforated paper fits well, but it's not, the backing isn't snug, and you have to figure out a way to fasten that in there. Hold on one second. I'm going to try to change a little something with the light. You may get some glare in my glasses, but I think it's going to be better. Hold on back. I'm sorry for the glare in my glasses, but I think this lighting will work a little better, be a little truer. So that my first finished object was that Mill Hill. My second is Hope's Song from Heartstring Samplery. And here's this. If you've been with me before, you will remember that I stitched this as my Blessing sampler in January. And I bought this when it was an exclusive in the Homespun Needlework Facebook group. And so I was able to get the backing board, which is made by Beth Twist's husband, and the entire finishing kit. So this also was a pretty straightforward finish. They gave you the mounting board, the batting, the little bit of rickrack that's around the edge there, and really good instructions. So this is Hope's Song, and that's fully finished. So now I can find a place to put that. Next up is actually, I've got a little video about this piece. This is Angel of Mercy by Marilyn Levitt Imblum, and I'm going to put a little bit of video that I recorded when I started finishing this here. So this is my piece, Angel of Mercy. It's by Lavender and Lace. I'm not sure what the release date is. It's definitely, you know, a piece from the early 90s. And I bought it as a kit, and I was stitching it. And this is as far as I got. Sorry about that, guys. This is as far as I got. And I just decided I didn't love stitching it, and I stopped. And it's using all the kit materials, so it's this real, you can't really see it the way it's laying here, but I believe it's witch-hilt linen, so it's a really fine linen, kind of see-through, kind of stiff. And I put it down and essentially made it into a UFO, or unfinished object. And then after watching Rachel Q Stitches, she had purchased one of these angels, not this exact one, but she had purchased Blue Moon Angel in progress and was stitching it. So then I got the idea that maybe I could rehome this. Maybe somebody out there would want to continue stitching it. I could send them, you know, the rest of the kit materials and where I was at. And if they didn't want to use my piece, then they could continue on. And then one of my dogs got spiteful one day and put that hole in the linen. And there's just no way to fix that. And I wasn't going to send that to anyone. So I just kind of put this aside again. And then I got thinking about it, and I did put a lot of work into it. And maybe there was a way to save some of what I had stitched. So I got thinking again, I mean, and essentially her top here is finished except for the beads. And she's got a pretty face, and those wings are lovely, and they were a pain in the neck and a lot of work. And so I've been thinking about this. I'm going to move this. No, I'm going to leave it there. Hold on for what I want to show you. Sorry, this is something I'm trying, and I don't have a tabletop tripod, so if this doesn't work so great, you won't ever see this, and we won't do it again. But, so what I have in my finishing stash is this piece here. It is an oval, they call it an ornament, but it's kind of big for an ornament, but it's something I got at either Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and I really like the oval shape, and I was like, well, maybe I could take her face and her wings and mount it on that. So I took this and I painted it. I had a Martha Stewart, it's like I'll put the exact paint color below, but it's like a mother of pearl, but it's got a little bit of a champagne gold tint to it, and you're not really picking it up here, it's just a little bit of a shimmer. So I painted that, and then to get a template, I'm pretty low tech, so I took it and put it on my I have an all-in-one printer that does copying, printing, and scanning. So I put it on there, and I made a photocopy of that. And I blew it up by 10% because I wanted a little bit of extra space. So here's what I came out with. And I was able to cut out that oval. And I also have some, this is going to be kind of hard to see, but I have some acetate for making stencils, and I use that for making templates. It's a tip I got from Helen D. So I pulled this out, and I don't know if you can see this or not. You can see the glare there. So first I tried putting it on vertically, and I didn't get a whole lot of her wings. But then I went I thought, well, maybe we can do it horizontally. And if you can, let me see. There we go. Turn that overhead light out. But you can kind of see that there. I get a good piece of her face and her shoulder and her wings. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mount her on that oval piece. And I'm going to work on that today. I just figured I'd give you a little bit of a glimpse into what was going on before and talk a little bit about what my thought process was. So stay tuned. Hopefully you'll see this. If not, I'll be talking about it on my next FlossTube next week. Talk to you soon. Bye. And now we're back. And here's the remainder of the piece, right? Oh, kind of scary when you do that to your own work, right? But here's the piece where my dog chewed on it. and here's what's left. So this was a Witchelt linen, pretty thin, as you could see when I held it up. So I'm not disappointed to not have the linen anymore. Still a little disappointed that I couldn't pass it along to someone who may have wanted to stitch it. But here's what I did as an FFO. So this is a wooden, they call it an ornament piece that I got at either Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And it's a 6 by 8 inch piece. It was unfinished. The tag is still on the back. So I took it and painted it I had some paint. So, and you know, everything I'm doing this year is all about using what I have, right? So I had some, like a champagne mother of pearl paint. So there's a little bit of glow on the wood. You can't really see it. So I painted this wooden piece, and then I threaded this ribbon through the openings. You can see a little bit of it right here and a little bit down on the bottom. So this was just a spool of ribbon that I had from, again, Michael's or Hobby Lobby. So I made a bow, a little twist around here, made a bow, threaded that through, made a bow. This was a plastic ring that I had hanging around, so now I can hang it up. And then I made an oval template out of a piece of acetate blank for stencils, and put it over my stitched piece, figured out where it showed the most of what I wanted to stitch, and cut her out, mounted her on a piece of mat board with a little bit of soft and white quilt batting, one piece over the top to give her a little bit of definition. And there you go. And now she can hang like this. And I can also adjust, I can adjust the length of these strings. It's not permanently mounted, you know, tied to this ring. So I can adjust for where I want it to hang. Or I could put it on an easel and just put the ribbon behind it. But here she is. I'm very happy with being able to at least rescue that part of her. So, next up is an ornament from the, and I'm sorry, I'm grabbing my notes over here so they're a little closer to where I am so I can see them. Okay, actually next up is another Mill Hill piece. This is their ceramic tree ornament, and this actually was designed, it's one of their smaller ones, and they kit them up with a magnet, but I finished it as an ornament. I want it to go on my Christmas tree. My mom has one of these ceramic trees that a cousin made for her in high school, and it always has been kind of, you know, the real symbol, not the real, but it's always been an integral part of Christmas at my mom's house. So this way I can have it on my tree. So I had used the perforated paper in the kit. I used a piece of sticky back velvet. Got it off Amazon. I'll see if I can find a link to put below, but that was a tip from Michelle, Mama Loves You GB. And then the ribbon is a ribbon I had in my stash, just a nice piece of white ribbon with the lights printed on it. Thought it made a nice touch. And there we go. That was another quick and easy finish. This next ornament is from the 2020 Just Cross Stitch ornament issue. It is called, and this is why I needed my notes, this is called Guiding Star, and it's by Threaded Dream Studio. And it's stitched on a piece of white and silver, probably 28 count Lugana. And the original, let's see, let me do this here. The original threads called for were Treenway silks, which I did not have, and if you remember 2020, we weren't finding a lot. It's blowing it way out. Let's see if I can get it back here. Or there we go. So I did a conversion to DMC, picked my favorite colors of blue. And then on the back here that's the fabric that I put on the back. I thought it went nicely. And then I made beaded pins to go on the sides and the top and bottom. So I've been thinking about how I wanted to finish this one for a while, and wanted to come up with something like this. And let's see, maybe this will help. Yeah, that's better. And I'm really pleased with how this came out. I think it'll be nice and sparkly on my tree. You can't really see the sparkle in the fabric, but I'm very happy. It's, like I said, it's white with silver, and pleased with how that came out. And last but not least this is Christmas Tree by Elizabeth's Designs, and this was in the 2005 Just Cross Stitch Ornament issue. And here is this. I have a video clip that I will put in just a minute. That shows this nice and up close. So this piece here is velvet from, I believe, Lady Dot Creates. It came in a 3-pack with a red, a white, and a green. Mounted that on a piece of mat board. Then this is a finishing fabric I had in my stash on a piece of Bristol paper, and the ornament was stitched on the called for 32 count raw linen, also mounted on a piece of Bristol paper, and each piece has a single layer of warm and white batting on it. If you can see this border here, it's not focusing real well. Get my hand out of here. These are pins, alternating green pearl-headed pins with a gold bead and a smaller crystal that matches the champagne crystals here in the edging. The innermost edging is just bugle beads and seed beads. And then this outside edging, I used Katie Strachan's strung crystal or strung bead edging. I will link that tutorial below. It's actually a very, very easy technique. And then I made some fringe for the bottom and a beaded hanger. And hopefully I was able to get that video clip in that gave you a really nice close-up of this. I am really, really happy with how this came out. I did use mat board for the 2 backing pieces. The others were Bristol paper because I was afraid of making this too heavy. There was lots of trial and error. I had an idea of how I wanted this to look. This is not my original plan. It's probably plan E or F, but I'm really pleased with how it came out. And then the one thing that I had enough fabric to fix it, but I didn't feel like starting over. Just a reminder, if you're going to use a directional fabric like this, think about how you're going to mount your piece, because this is how this is. This is top and bottom. Originally, I thought this was going to be, the outer piece was going to be square with a diamond in the middle, and it just worked out better to be this way. So it's the back of the ornament. Nobody's really going to see it. I left it as it was. If it really had bothered me, I could have adjusted that. The only thing is, if I had changed that, I would have had to cut this fabric on the bias, and anybody who works with fabric can tell you that makes it a little harder to work with. It's a little stretchier. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this came out. I'm really happy with this. So that was my last fully finished object. But I do, well, actually not completely, because I did fully finish my pair of socks that I was knitting that I was telling you guys about. Both are finished, have 2 socks. They are completely wearable. These are knit in DK weight yarn, just yarn I got at Hobby Lobby because this was my first piece. and I wanted to practice on them, I used the DK weight vanilla sock pattern from Crazy Sock Lady, along with her 9-inch circular tutorials. I have a few things I need to fix. My tension was off from one sock to the other, so it does make a little bit of a difference, but they are fully wearable and they're for me. And I already cast on another pair of socks. So there will be more socks and more knitting in my future. Knitting with circular needles was really a game changer for me, and knitting a smaller project as well. Like I said before, I've tried knitting several times, and between the straight needles being awkward to deal with and trying to knit a simple sweater in stockinette stitch, I generally got to about halfway through the first side of the sweater, front or back, and got bored, put it down, and never went back. So we do have a fully finished knitted object, which makes me very happy. And then I have some actual finished cross-stitch pieces. So the first up, this was one of my Whip Go calls from February. If you're not familiar, Whip Go is a bingo style challenge started by Jessie Marie from Jessie Marie Who Does Stuff. And you set up a bingo style board. She calls two numbers every month, except when the number 13 is called, which we'll see when we talk about April. And you set goals based on those numbers. So this is Snow Puppy by Cross My Heart Designs. This was in the 2003 Just Cross Stitch Ornament issue. I made several changes. The dog was tan and white. I made it black and white. There's a beautiful border around this piece, and I have a good idea of how I want to finish it without that border. So I left the border off, and then I've got to fluff up. I used whisper thread here on the cuff of the stocking, and I just have to fluff that up. Very happy with how this came out. So that was one of my March Whip Go calls. Next up is Hedgehog and Hyacinth by Blue Flower Designs, and this was a market release in 2023, and that's just adorable, and I love it. So if you look at the back of this hedgehog here, this is stitched with 3 cottage garden threads and 2 DMCs. So the cottage garden threads are the green in this leaf, which is not super variegated, but you do see some difference in shading. This brown and blackish variegated thread, and then the thread that's in the flowers. And I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit because this is the thread, it's called Echo, and this is the thread that is used for the hedgehog. And the one for the flowers was kind of similar, but if you can see here, there's a lot of variegation in this. You see it's brown and black and tan, and I was afraid this was going to turn out too stripy. So what I did when I stitched the hedgehog, and something to think about when you're working with highly variegated threads, I kind of stitched the outline of this piece here, the back of that hedgehog, and then I went in circles around and around inside. And I really like how that came out better. It looks more realistic, like the coat of an animal rather than just stripy. And I'm really happy with how that came out, but something to think about. And then with the flowers too, I kind of picked a path to stitch each flower and varied it just a little bit so that the colors in the flowers weren't just stripy and kind of showed. I mean, flowers don't all match in nature, right? So that's pretty realistic. But I'm very happy with how that came out. And that was just an extra start. It was a piece I felt like stitching, so I pulled it out, I started it, and I finished it. This next piece is my other Whip Go call for March, and this is Partridge and Pear by Satsuma Street. And I bought the kit, so it's stitched on 14? I think it's 14 count perforated paper that was supplied with the kit, a cream colored kit, the DMC that was supplied with the kit, and the beads and sequins. So there you can see that a little bit. I love how this came out. This is so pretty. And she's doing one a year that corresponds with the song The 12 Days of Christmas. This obviously would be number one, but I have stitched this one, I've stitched the turtle doves, and I've stitched the calling birds. I do have all 6 that have been released. So hopefully I'll get more of them stitched as time goes on. And I've also started and finished, since we've been together last, my first April WIPGO call. So for the month of April 13, which is the middle space, which can be either a free space or have a project assigned to it. But when Jessie calls the number 13, then that month there are 3 projects that are called. So I was lucky, one of mine is very small, and I was able to start and finish this. This is Wise Men Came, and this is from the 2003 Just Cross Stitch Ornament issue by Shepherd's Bush. Stitched with all the called for threads on a piece of 32 count antique buttercream Jobelin by Silkweaver. This is a really old fabric. I believe it was from the person who owned Silkweaver before the current owner. I'm not sure if this is a color that's available at all anymore. But that's my last finish, and that is Wise Men Came by Shepherd's Bush. So, I have talked about the fact that, excuse me, that I am trying to get to touch all of my WIPs or in-progress projects this year. So I've been spinning a decision wheel. The project that comes up, I work on it for a week, and then each Saturday I was spinning the wheel. So I continued that through March, but that's going to change, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But the first project I worked after we were together with last, excuse me, is Walk with Dog, artwork by Leonid Afremov, and this was charted by Artisy. So that's what it's going to look like. I'm working up here in this top corner, and I do have this in markup RXP, so I do have stitch counts with this one, whereas most of my projects I don't. But I got 750 stitches in on this, and I've got blacks and dark blues and dark reds. So I do am in some areas where some of the oranges will start coming in very shortly. I think this will come out again before the end of the year. I really enjoyed working on this, especially having it in markup RXP. I'm stitching it 1/1, one thread over one on, I believe it's 22 count Ada, just plain white. It's either 20 or 22, but it is one threaded strand of DMC over one block of the Ada type weave. After that, I pulled out, I spun and pulled out Winter Rose Manor by Brenda Gervais. I'm sure you've seen this before, and I apologize for the glare with the lighting today. Lots of folks have worked on this in the past, and I got it and started it, and you know how things go. I got distracted. So I pulled this back out. I'm stitching mine on 18 count Shale Ada by Picture This Plus with all of the called for threads except for the white. So, and here's this. I used the called for color that some folks changed with the house. And I'm using grits for the white, since the called for roasted marshmallow is pretty yellow in the die lot I got. So I finished filling in all of the windows, and I did the stairs here. They're going to be back stitched, so you can see that they're stairs. I didn't get there. I did that tree, filled in the white there, and started this border that's going to go across the bottom. So I got quite a bit of work done on this. I'm pretty satisfied with that. Oh, and I started the lady cardinal over here to finish up a strand of thread. So I'm really pleased with how that's coming out. And then on days that I work from home, when I have conference calls, I try to have a piece that's fairly easy to pick up and put down, just to keep my brain engaged. Sometimes I'm on calls that all I have to do is listen, so I'll pull out a small piece to work on. And I've been working on, this is a Mill Hill and Jim Shore kit. This is a snowman. And this was released in 2014. Sorry for the glare, that's just the way the paper's printed. So that's what that looks like. And I've made some really good progress on this. The kit came with an 18 count navy blue Aida. And I'm stitching it 2 strands of DMC with all the called for threads. And there's where I'm at. So I've worked across this side and down here, all of, I keep going backwards here, all of this down over here and down here to this corner. And then I did do a little bit more over here, but a lot of that was done. So I've just mostly got to finish the background across the bottom here and part way up that other side. And then the beading will commence. And this is going to be so sparkly. There are so many beads in this piece. Not sure why I got stalled on this. I think I started it when it came out, maybe 2015, and it was in my travel bag for a while and in my laptop case just as a piece in case I was ever stuck somewhere and needed something to stitch on. And I just really got bogged down. I don't know if it was, you know, the white. I think it might have been the white stitching in the snowman. You know, it's a lot of white. So that might have been it. I'm not sure. But now that I'm making progress on it, I'm really happy with how it's coming out. I'm really looking forward to getting this finished, hopefully this year. So my next spin was Siam Fusion by Sampler Cove. And this is, I don't remember what the copyright on this is, but this also is an older piece. And there are 2 charts for 2 pieces in here. There's either a band sampler or the motif sampler, which is this bigger one. And I, of course, am doing the bigger one. Why not, right? So I am stitching using the called for threads, which are Caron Collection Soie Cristal. And I'm using, instead of black, which was what was called for, I'm using a charcoal cashel linen. It's a little easier to see on than black. And I didn't have a lot of time to work on this, so the only thing I got done, I think I had an evening to work on this, so the only thing I got done is this dark blue outline over here, which is going to be this next motif. And you can see it's a pretty big it's a pretty big motif. It's going to go all the way out here, essentially replicating what I've got here. So I enjoy working on this piece. I just didn't have a lot of time when it was called, so hopefully I'll have a chance to pull it out and work on it some more this year at some point. And the last piece I'm working on, and this is kind of where my plans are changing for my current projects, I decided to make April Arabesque April, and this is a crappy picture of it. If you've seen the original cover art, the model was stitched all in red threads. This is, my printer was running out of colored ink, so this is what we got. But you can see this. I started this with Beth, the Steadfast Stitcher, and Laura from Stitching by the Shore. Laura has finished hers. She stitched hers in red, but a different red than the one that was called for. And Beth is stitching hers in a gorgeous blue hand-dyed fiber silk by Vicki Clayton. I think she's using Nile blue. And the minute I saw this, I thought of The Great Gatsby and all that over-the-top, decadent black and gold. So I'm stitching mine with Silks for You, PR070, they're jet black, and Petite Treasure Braid PB02 is the gold that I'm using. And I've worked on this once already. I got some dog hair on here. And I did this piece down here that looks like links of a chain, and I did these get organized here. I did these 2 motifs here. You can see one's not quite finished yet. And then, so there's some other motifs trailing down this way, and then there's that big corner motif. And then I'll be at the bottom of the piece. So I'm going to try to be as monogamous with this one as I can be in April. I think it's entirely possible that I could finish it. which would be cool. Although I do have one other goal that I'm going to work on for the month of April, in addition to my other WIPGO calls. But those are all the pieces that I worked on. I actually did have one other finish after we were together last time, but I can't find it. Not sure where I put it. You remember me talking about stitching one of the pieces from my grandmother's jewelry box stitch along that Carolyn Manning did in 2022 or 2023. I think it was 2023. And I stitched the first piece because there was a stitch along starting in Laura's Stitching by the Shore Facebook group. I did finish that first motif. It had to be beaded, I believe, when we were together last. And I got that completely finished. And I put it in a very good place that I'm not sure where that is. So when I do find it, because I do want to stitch some more of those little pieces, so when I do find it, I will share it with you again. I think good thoughts that I find it soon, because I am kind of looking to work on that. I just don't know. I may have tucked it in a project bag and not realized that I did that. So I'll have to keep looking through my project bags and the couple of places that I may have put it. So that is everything that I worked on. So we're going to talk about plans for April. So I'm going to continue working on Arabesque. The other thing I want to do in April and make some major progress on is my Father Winter piece by Teresa Wensler. And I didn't bring it up here with me, but I was watching Catherine, the Needleberry Stitcher. I was watching one of her recent videos, and she was talking about finishing off some of her older works in progress. So she and I have agreed that we're going to take this year and cheer each other on and make good progress on our oldest WIPs. So one of my oldest ones, if not the oldest one, is Father Winter. It's either that one or Mystery 9, by the former Mystery 9, The King's Vegetable Garden, by Martina Weber of Chatelaine Designs. I am going to the Queen City Stitch Retreat in October that is Teresa Wensler themed. So I would love to have Father Winter finished to take with me there. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I am going to work on it. I want to make some good progress. So I did recently buy the PDF chart the end of last year from Everything Cross Stitch. I did get the chart loaded into Markup RXP. I need to update the colors in the, load the colors for the symbols. The symbols are all there. And then I want to mark off what I've stitched so I can easily pick it up and continue on. So I've got a little bit more work behind the scenes before there's anything to actually show you, but I want to make some more progress on this month, this month. I think if I take an afternoon and sit down and really focus on that, I should get that done as well. And then I have two other WIPGO calls, because like I said, the number 13 was called this month. And I'm doing all Christmas ornaments. I know there's an actual Christmas WIPGO out there. I think Nicole Spohr may have started it. I'm not really doing that. Since I started doing WIPGO, I have done ornaments because I have all the Just Cross Stitch ornament issues through last year. I did not buy this year's. I don't care for the new format. That's just me. I prefer it for the ornaments and the small pieces. I don't stitch a lot of bigger pieces for magazines. So I looked through it. There are a couple of ornaments that were kind of interesting to me, but I can get the issue on the Libby app for my library. So if I want to stitch one of them, I can easily stitch from that. So, but anyway, so when I started doing WIPGO, I wanted to stitch up ornaments. I had some that were kitted. I have some Mill Hill kits. I just wanted to stitch ornaments. So my board is full of ornaments each year. And I don't always complete all my goals, but it gives me a really good group of ornaments. Then, you know, when I can keep up with getting them fully finished, I can get them on the tree. So for the month of April, my last two calls are Mary from Mill Hill. Let's see if I can get this without a lot of glare. And there she is. She's part of the Nativity trilogy. I did stitch Joseph, I believe it was one of my January whip-go calls, and he's done and waiting to be finished. So Mary will be next. Baby Jesus is the third piece of this trilogy, and that's on my board as well. And the other one is from the 2003 Just Cross Stitch Ornament issue, and it's this one up here in the corner. Oop. Up here it's called Time of Wonder. It's by Julia Lucas Designs, and it's a girl with a dog, and I just liked it. So that will be, I've got actually the fabric all set up on an urge hoop, and when I go to work on Thursday, I'll be starting that as long as the phones cooperate. So that's it for me. Let me just go through my notes real quick. I showed you everything, talked about everything I wanted to talk about. I've got a couple other videos that I will have inserted bits and places here, and that's it. So like I said, today is Easter, filming a little bit later because we went out to dinner with my mom and my sister. Kind of a weird scheduling thing with everyone in my family this year. My brother-in-law and youngest nephew were working. My oldest nephew went to a baseball game with one of his friends because he's a Florida Marlins fan, and they're playing the New York Yankees as we speak, so he's there having fun. So yeah, it was just my mom and my husband and I, and my sister came with us. We had a very nice dinner, good afternoon out. And that's about it. The weather's starting to get nicer here, so I hope that's the same for you if you're in the northern hemisphere. If you are in the southern hemisphere, I hope you're enjoying kind of that fall kind of vibe, and that it's not getting super cold for you really quickly. So I will ask if you care to do that, if you could spare a good thought or a prayer for my sister in relation to employment. She's having a little bit of a difficult time right now. She's fine, they're going to be just fine, but if you wouldn't mind sparing a good thought for her, I would appreciate that. And so that's it for me. I hope to be back in 2 weeks. I'm just gonna carry on. I won't have enough to show you next week to try to get back on my, you know, the weeks that I started out on the beginning of the year. But I'll hopefully be back in 2 weeks with some more, maybe some couple ornament finishes and some good progress on arabesque. We'll have a shorter episode. Do have some other things that I want to share with you guys this year eventually. Maybe talk about some of the things that I'd like to start and get some input from you guys. I've got a bunch of pieces that are really calling to me that I would like to get started. So I'm going to let you go. Stitch what you love. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you soon. Love you. Bye.